If you've watched any of my previous videos, you might have figured out that I'm a little bit of a number geek. I like tracking my money and counting and figuring out where it's going and figuring out ways that I can better manage what the resources that I have. So today I'm going to do a deep dive into October, how my budget started, how it went, and what I might be doing differently in November. This is the budget that I set up for myself in October. The top piece is money that I have in a cash management account that I use only for expenses that are already automatic. So these are how I pay my utilities. These are nothing that I have to physically do. They just are automatically set up to make the payments. This is my check register. This is what it looked like in September. This is how October ended. I started the month of October with $556.47. My original budget was for $535. My water that I pay the city, I had budgeted $112. They charged me $168.48, so I was a little bit off there. I did have to add a little bit of money for that overage. I kind of knew that might be happening. The 112 is what I had figured an average for the last 12 months had been, but I still was watering my lawn at this point, so I knew it was going to be a little bit off. But so I did end up, like I said, with a 556. I started with 556. I went through all of my expenses and I made a deposit towards the end of, on the 28th of October to account for, the next month's expenses. And I ended with $552.87. So that's what I'm going to be starting November with. And I'm going to start, my November budget looks identical to this one. I've been using this system for a good 2 years now, and it really does work for me. I don't use it for anything else, so I don't have to worry about any surprises. This really runs like clockwork for me. What was new for me is I had previously not been spending or paying a lot of attention to my discretionary spending, and I was overspending. And so this is why I started this channel and doing a better job of managing my budget. So this is what I started with in October. This line right here is what I intended to give myself, with a total of $1,550. And I did go over. I did spend more than that. This category right here is money that I gave myself that I was going to use my debit card for. This account is a debit account that I have a debit card. It's not, but it's a savings account linked to a money market type of account with Fidelity. So I do earn interest. And then this is money that I gave myself in cash, $501. And this is money that I gave myself in a savings account that's also linked to, it's a money market, so I earn interest on this as well. Let me do a little bit deeper dive into these numbers with you. Get rid of my register. And then I'm going to talk about my spending account first. This is where I gave myself the $195.30, $123 for subscriptions. So the $195 was for food, and I did end up overspending on that debit card by $112.83. One thing I hadn't accounted for was that my partner was out of town, and I didn't actually want to cook for myself while he was gone, so I took a little bit more takeout than I thought I might. We also had a meal plan service that was expensive, but kind of what we needed at the time because I wasn't feeling very well. So we wanted to eat, so we paid for that. But I'm not using that at this time. I'm feeling better, and yeah, I think we've got our spending under control a little bit more in terms of food. And I did give myself a little bit more this month. This category over here this is the new month. This is November. I've actually only given myself $70 on that debit card because I was overspending for food, specifically fast food, takeout food. So one thing I realized this month is if I have cash, I'm less likely to be frivolous with it. So I gave myself $400 in cash and $70 on my debit card. And I will let you know how that works. I'm hopeful. It's going good so far. For pet food, did have a little bit of leftover that I carried over, $296. So I've got $296 here. I guess the other thing with the food, I took the money out of my savings account to cover these negative pieces for myself. I didn't want to put myself at a deficit starting November. I needed to be successful. I know not everyone has that luxury, but I do, unfortunately. So yeah, this is a learning process for me right now. My subscriptions, I did have a surprise. I forgot that I had signed up for Apple TV. I'd had like a freebie sort of thing going on, and I forgot that it ran out. So I was charged $9.99, so it gave me just a little bit of a negative there. So I did give myself a little bit more money this time. I'd only given myself $23, but now I gave myself $35. So I think that will get me through the month. And self-care, last month I'd only given myself $100, and this time I gave myself $200. But I don't need a haircut this month, but I did put that all in on the debit card because there are some things that I know that I need to buy online. Yeah. And one thing that I did a little bit differently that's not this, so this is October's worksheet. I did add my healthcare onto this side because I had a lot of expenses that I needed to be able to be using my debit card for. So let me just turn the page really quick here and you can see some of that. So this piece is the category for health. I ended up with $57.47, but you can see all of the transactions that sort of happened there. And so I did move this over to something that's a little bit more nimble for me than needing to move money out of savings every time I needed to use it. So, but I did reduce the amount of my expenditure last month. I had given myself $125. I only gave myself $100 this month. And the reason for that is that I have, unfortunately or unfortunately, have hit the cap of the max of out-of-pocket expenses for healthcare. So I shouldn't, for my medical expenses, I shouldn't have any others for the rest of the year. But there are some places that I'm going that they're charging me, and then I get a refund. It's kind of going out and then coming back to me. So they've got a little bit of a game going on, but that's where I'm at with healthcare. And this sheet should be done. And then so I can talk about the savings. For my savings account, this is for my pet care. This is where I would want to spend money for like veterinary medicine. I have a cat that has a prescription and or vet visits, and I'm trying to build this up as a nice sinking fund. So I didn't have any expenses, and for this savings account, I give this the interest earned, which was $6.10 for the month, to this account. So I ended up with $65.39 set aside for my pets. And then I gave actually, you know what? That was the September interest. My October interest was paid on November 1st. So I've got $10.01 that was paid this month. And then I put $40 from my budget this month. And so now I have $115.40 for pet care starting November. And then one thing I realized I didn't have on my list, but I had in my head I was keeping track of, and that was money that I had set aside for Christmas, and I decided to make the category there. And I haven't added anything for auto insurance or travel. My auto insurance is not due next until June of 2027, so I've got a year and a half before I need to pay that again. And then my children live in different states than I do. My daughter's going to be coming, and her husband are coming for Christmas this year to visit me. And I saw my son, I think 3 times last year. So I don't have any like specific plans to travel at this time, but I do need to start building that up because I know I will want to go see them eventually. But yeah, I just don't have any I saw them both. My daughter got married in July, and it was a big family thing. So I spent a lot of money on that. I just haven't felt like I need to build up that travel right now. Let's see here. I think that's all about that. Let me turn the pages here. What I wanted to share with you, a couple other things that I'm doing. So in terms of income for October, I set a goal to try and earn $900. I did not succeed, but I did make $553.18. So this is additional income not outside of that budget that I made for myself. But well, that's not the 900, target I sent. It is over about $100 more than I earned in September. This is how much I made in September. So I feel pretty good about that. I made progress on that target, but it's not perfect. But I actually have been having some health issues, and that's a big part of it. And so yeah, I'm okay with making more. And sort of just these are the days of the month, this column at the top. And these are my sources of income. The biggest one is probably dividends from stocks that I've invested in, $241, followed by my sales on eBay. I didn't total it here, but this does add up to $143.96. And then I had sales on Etsy. This is not, I don't sell savings challenge things on Etsy. This is from actually like I sell like vintage items like this teacup here and other types of vintage cooking items. So my Etsy sales were $75.66. Interest on my accounts for the month of October were $81.45 in interest earned. Yeah, so that's kind of how things rounded out. I made a little bit of money from Amazon KDP. This arrived is an investment sort of account in real estate, so I earned $9 there. Yeah, just a little bit going on. So I was pretty, like I said, I was not where I want to be, but it was a step in the right direction. The other thing that I wanted to share with you just briefly is my work towards my debt, which is student loans. I shared this on a previous video. I have currently 7 student loans. These are the balances. This is how I started out. This was my balance on October the 7th. I made a video and I tried to make I did make a deposit, or not a deposit, but a payment towards the loans every week of the month. And that really worked out well for me. So I paid $70, then $50, then $100. This was money that I earned from eBay and Etsy. And then the last $50 I made last week, that was from money that I had set aside in savings challenges that I had completed. So $70 from savings challenges. So total payments of $270. But for me, the balance is only reduced by $138.15 because I paid $131.85 in interest. And that has been one of my lessons learned this month. I've had obviously had these loans for a long time, and they were on deferment, and they were not accruing interest for the past 5 years, but the interest did start again in August, and I think I'd forgot how painful it was, how quickly that interest could add up. I've figured out that approximately my account right now is earning interest at the rate of $5.25 a day. And I have a backlog of interest of about $1,300 that has accrued. And so for November, that's one of my biggest targets, is working on that interest. And on this, I had been targeting, as you can see, I was making payments on just loan number 9. I still want to try and reduce loan number 9. That's I've got it down below $2,000 now. It is the one I have my sights on. I like to do a snowball method, start from the lowest balance and work up. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my loans. And then I think, let me make sure I've got, the other thing that was really a learning lesson for me with my budget was my sinking funds. I spent a lot of time thinking and working on them, and I came up with a list of what the ones that are most important to me, and I made this spreadsheet about how much I really want, how much I really need to set aside in the rest of the year, how much that really means each month to meet those goals, what I have, what I should do, where I'm at, and I created this all for 2026 as well. Just trying to figure out what this, I know what I need and when I need it. And so figure out what that really looks like in reality was educational for me. And this is what really informed my budget for November. So this is my new budget. Let me just make sure you can see that. Yeah, it looks like you can. So I've given myself $2,100 this month to work with. This top is the same. That really doesn't change for me. This amount is the amount that I'm leaving on my debit card. This is how much in cash. This is how much I moved to savings. But the thing that I did differently is I added all of these sinking funds to the bottom, and I kind of put a zero on all of them, even though I know what they are based on this tracker. But I've given myself $465 in cash to play with a little bit and have some fun with my money. So I've got money that I can, work with on my savings challenges with you on this channel. So yeah, that's one thing I didn't really account for properly last time. So hopefully this will be a better month, and I will be able to report back at the end of November that everything was a-okay. So we will see. If you have any questions, or if you want to share what your process is, like how you do this differently or the same, I would love to hear about it. I find it really fascinating how we all, figure out what works for us in our situations. And even though we're all different, we all have different jobs, different means of income, different expenses, different family sizes. I didn't share that at the beginning, but it's just me and my partner. My kids are grown up, so I don't have to, I don't have those types of expenses, but I am 56, almost 57, getting close to retirement. So I'm trying to, wrap things, get things in myself in a good situation for retirement. That's one of my challenges. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you're doing, and I really appreciate your time if you've lasted this long. So thank you, and I will see you in my next video.